morning, Patriots. How are you doing? It is good to see all of you. Now, I got to tell you, that stream yesterday was bonkers, man. 8,000 people tuning in. That was crazy, yo. That was crazy. Don't know what happened. Don't know how it happened. But almost all of those were coming from X, also known as Twitter. So I don't know what's happening this week, but YouTube did us well on, what was it, Monday? We had our normal programming Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon for the Trump address. That was supposed to be big news. I mean, look, it was big news. We're going to cover some of it today. But man, we had like we had like 7,900 people over on Twitter. That was crazy. But enough of that. Just wanted to give you guys a shout out for tuning in. And like I said, we'll talk a little bit about that today and a little bit of other news. I will say there isn't that much going on once again. So this is just kind of us hanging out. Ooh, huge announcement. I'm pretty sure it's correct, by the way, and we'll test this out tonight. I'm being told, and let me see if I can find it. And this is from somebody over at Rumble. This affects you guys. This is huge. This is cool. Remember how I said, hey, I don't like when we have to restrict things to our viewership. Like, for example, Dark MAGA, to do those hours is that we have to stream specifically on Rumble. And for you to be able to access that, you have to be a Rumble Premium member. From my understanding, they changed that. Where you now, as long as you are a member over at Rumble for my channel, like if you're over at YouTube and you pay like the $2.99 for membership over at YouTube and you get the badge and stuff like that, you're considered a member. You're a paid member for my channel over at YouTube. So if you become a member over at my channel for Rumble, allegedly you will get Rumble Premium access, but only to my channel. Does that make sense? So you would be able to join the MAGA, the Dark MAGA show, instead of paying $100 a month for $100 a year for Rumble Premium for the entire Rumble platform. If you join the membership over at Rumble for my channel, then you only get Rumble Premium for my channel. So just wanted to throw that at some of you if that's what you want to do. And you're like, hey, I've been wanting to do it. I don't have $100 a year to throw at Rumble Premium, but I got $4.99 a month to throw at Brad. Then there you go. So it seems like they're trying to find a happy medium between the two and get more people engaged in that. So if we want to test that out tonight, because we have to go restriction again, some of you have a membership over here. If you want to test it out and see if that works, allegedly that's what's supposed to be happening. So we'll see. I think that's kind of cool that they did that. And as I mentioned, a happy medium for everybody else. So let's jump into the news here. A special envoy, Steve Witkoff, allegedly held a, quote, highly productive meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday, just 2 days before President Trump's deadline for a ceasefire in Ukraine. Now, even Trump, his demeanor, his tone in the Oval Office, because he was asked a question about this yesterday, it was kind of, even he was kind of like, we'll see what happens with it. But even he's like, you know what? I figured this guy out. He's dragging me along. It's the same thing the Chinese have been doing. And I think this is exactly what Vladimir Putin's doing. I don't think he plans on doing a ceasefire deal. And I don't know what highly productive means, but we've been kicking this can down the road. This is the boy who cried wolf. I've heard this so many times, as has Trump. It's just smoke in the wind now. It doesn't mean anything. So this guy doesn't want to stop this war. If he did, by the way, it's that cliche of you could just do it now. So the only way that really I see Vladimir Putin pulling out is if you give him a lot of land. That's really it. So on Wednesday, Steve Witkoff and Vladimir Putin held a nearly 3-hour meeting that both the White House and the Kremlin described as constructive and useful. Yeah, sure. Following the discussion, President Donald Trump announced that great progress was made, that he intends to meet. Listen to this, because we covered this on TikTok only late last night. Great progress was made, but that he intends to meet with Putin personally as soon as next week. Now, I'm hearing this right here before bringing both Putin and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky together for talks. So allegedly, Trump might be meeting with Putin next week face to face. And then there's rumors out there that Putin himself is the one that's calling a meeting with Trump and Zelensky. So make that what you will. And I don't know if that is a last-ditch effort by Trump to try to resolve this. Because before, it was just him and the envoys, right? Or should I say just the envoys, like Steve Witkoff, for example, trying to get a deal done. And then, I mean, really, the last person that you would speak with would be the main person for the deal, the CEO of the company or whatever. I mean, most of the time, you don't even get that, right? You just do a deal with the lower level guys. So Trump maybe wants to go and be like, well, let me see if I can figure this out. If I can't figure it out, then we're done with this crap. We're walking away. Let them fight it out. They don't want to do anything. So then you just got to let them deal with it, because it's not our war. So it says here, Putin is reportedly not ready for a full ceasefire. He may agree to de-escalate by pausing airstrikes. See, that's just, to me, it's a waste of time then. Really, I mean, it is. You're going to spend all that taxpayer money going over there, and the guy doesn't care. And I think the whole world should just choke him out and just sanction the crap out of him. As part of a carrot and stick approach, the Trump administration increased pressure on Russian allies immediately following the meeting. Yeah. But, you know, you still have China just pouring money. Bunch of other allies over there of Russia pouring money into it. Trump is to sign order targeting debanking. President Trump is set to sign an executive order to ban the practice of debanking, which denies customers access to financial services based on their political or religious beliefs. I mean, this seems like an obvious thing for everybody. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. This seems just like a good thing. Isn't it wild that this is where we're heading as a country? Isn't that wild? The practice of debanking grew under the previous administration, doesn't surprise me, and has targeted numerous conservative individuals and organizations. You have the Alliance Defending Freedom told Morning Wire that the executive order is very needed because access to financial services is absolutely essential to be able to function in the modern economy. Ryan Bangert, again, who's of Alliance Defending Freedom, pointed to several documented cases of debanking, including the Supreme Court case NRA versus Vulo, where the New York regulators pressured financial institution to cut ties with the National Rifle Association, the NRA. He also cited a congressional report that found the Treasury Department officials had pressured banks to surveil customers who shopped at sporting goods stores and were associated with groups labeled as hate groups by far-left organizations. Do you remember that there was a congressional hearing a while ago where there were certain influencers, and I think even Dan Bongino was on the list, that Congress was like labeling? And if you know anything about Congress, right? Congress and the banking system work kind of hand in hand with one another. And they always were targeting conservatives for a very, very long time. I would say this even started under Barack Obama's administration, where they were targeting conservatives, specifically Republicans, their political opponents. Hell, they did it with the IRS, folks. When Joe Biden pulled it with the IRS once again, or during COVID, was arresting people just for going to church out there in the open, by the way, which is their First Amendment right to do so. If they want to risk their lives going to church, they have every right to do so. It's their First Amendment right. If they want to risk their lives carrying a firearm, that's their very right to do so. So they have every right to go to a church service, but the Biden administration, because they're authoritarian in some aspects, didn't want to allow that to happen. So they locked grandma up and threw her in the brig for a while because she wanted to praise and worship whatever faith that she was praising and worshiping. So that's what they did. But, God forbid you want to go take out a bank loan or make a deposit or withdrawal or something. You can't do it because, you support your freedom of speech and your Second Amendment rights. That's just so terrible, isn't it? But Joey did it as well, just as much as, Barack Obama did it. So we have that there for you. We'll see if that takes place, needs to happen. By the way, I've always believed this to be true, is that the more laws that you're having to see a nation create, the more deteriorated that nation has become. And there's that idea. Remember how the founder said that, a republic and a democracy, what we have a mixture, right? It's built for a moral and just society. And you really have to question, is our society still moral and just enough to be able to hold on to what we have that makes this country great in the first place? And that's our ideology and our creed. And, really, and I've said it, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, and I do believe this. I think our country is slowly moving away from what has made it great for so long. And those are our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence, where we're slowly eroding away those very rights that are enshrined, that were passed down by our creator, is what I believe. And I think so did the founders. And how do I know that? Look at all the laws that continually have to be on the books to erode away certain things that you can and cannot do. And it's sad to see. Oh, well, what's that? Well, sure. Why is the state of California having me, which was just dropped, by the way, why is it that I have to do a background check to have ammo? Yeah, in the state of California, you have to have pass a background check just to even purchase ammo. Why is it that some of the firearms are banned in the state of California? Because it says do not infringe. I mean, that's what it says. The word infringe there. I mean, you can look up the definition of that word. I've done it many times. It seems exactly that's what they're doing. So, yeah, I would say that when you start putting those types of regulations and laws on the books where I can and cannot own something, that's like saying you can and cannot say something. Isn't that restricting your freedom of speech? Now, there are laws in the books where if you make a violent threat against somebody, hey, damage done, whatever the hell that means. So anyways, we don't need to break down that anymore, but you guys get what I'm saying. You're understanding what I'm saying. Some other news. Here's some nuclear stuff happening on the moon. You guys think, okay, here, real talk. Oh, I love getting you guys engaged. And for those listening in your ear, I love you. You see, it's weird, right? Hold on, I want to point this out before we ask this question. See, like on YouTube, we have 24 people watching, and then Rumble always increases as time goes on because people wake up, they're sleepy. They can't make it on time. Whereas we had like over 117 consistent on YouTube. I don't know what happened the other day. It's weird. Maybe we just hit something right. Do you guys think the moon landing happened? Do you guys think, because the conversation that's being had is, well, we lost the technology to go to the moon. Really? Really? Did we go in the moon like in the 60s? Like some of you are alive. That's weird. No, we're building a nuclear reactor on the moon. I mean, if the thing blows up, then sure, I guess that'd be nuking the moon. You guys don't think we went to the moon? Aliens, bro. We stopped making the rockets. Well, I don't know. Elon can make pretty good rockets. I think, me personally, I think we went to the moon. In a major push to win the new space race, the Trump administration has directed NASA to build a nuclear reactor on the surface of the moon by 2030, dude. That's folks, that's in the next 4.5 years. Wow. This week, acting NASA Administrator Sean Duffy issued a directive to build a 100-kilowatt nuclear microreactor on the moon within the decade. This ambitious plan is driven by a renewed space race with China and Russia, both of whom have announced their own intentions to put reactors on the moon by the mid-2030s. Duffy stressed the urgency, saying, we want to get there first and claim that for America to prevent adversaries from declaring a keep-out zone that would prohibit U.S. operations. So I guess if there's something there that if you build a nuclear reactor, you build something on the moon or something like that, there's a keep out zone that it's basically you claim in certain territory. Nuclear power is considered the most, efficient option for a long-term lunar base because the moon experiences 2 weeks of continual darkness every month, making solar power impractical. The reactor is a key component of NASA's Artemis program, which aims to return astronauts to the moon by 2027 and eventually establish a permanent base. Do you think we're going to get better video this time? Not this old school black and white pixelated stuff. I want 8K, man. I don't even want 4K. I want 8K. Now there's a difference. It's subtle. From my understanding, between 4K and 8K, your eye can't really tell that much of a difference between the two. That's why I think it might go be pointless to do like 10K or 12K or whatever. Your eye can only see so much resolution, which gets you into a whole different territory of, are we in a simulation? Is that just because the simulation only allows so much resolution and bandwidth? Don't get me going. Don't get me going in conspiracy theories where we're at here. So there you have it. We're going to be spending your taxpayer dollars on a lunar base. That's always fun. So those are the three big stories that's happening of the day. Make sure I get those in for you guys. I also want to point out here something kind of interesting. We have not seen a what's his face? A Scott Jennings clip in a while. So let's go ahead and just wet our palate and cleanse our well, I don't really know where I was going with that. It's morning, but here he is. Here he is. Are we missing? Hold on a second. Oh, whoa. We do not have. We do not have. That's so weird. Hold on one second. We're having technical difficulties. All right. And then hold on. My audio's gone. I know you guys can still hear me, but excuse me for 1 second. Here we go. Okay, we should be good now.
Now the plight of American hero Big Balls has set off a firestorm in the Republican Party. This kid who worked for the Doge guys, didn't shut down any diners that I know of, but he's out of the government now. He goes out on the street.
Just infiltrated all of our information.
He protects a woman from being attacked by a roving street gang, and he had the crap kicked out of him. And, you know, we had a congressional intern murdered not too long ago. I'm just telling you, Republicans right now have about had it with the violence and the idea that you can't even walk around D.C. right now without getting attacked by street gangs.
Don't we have laws on the books already?
Isn't it wild that they're getting all fired up over somebody saying the obvious? We live in such a weird time where you could just say something that is objectively true. You know, we're not talking about subjective where it's like, okay, well, I could see how you can come out with your outcome. You can come out with your interpretation. Objectively true. An objective truth would be like the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. When you say something obvious like that, the Democrats will still fight you on it, which is wild to me. In the same way, a man is a man and a woman is a woman. That will get you banned, or at least used to, on social media, which is always a crazy thing. But, I mean, he's stating the obvious here. There's nothing that he said was wrong. It's nothing but true. And this was echoed, I believe, by Donald Trump yesterday. And I think, did Phil comment? Yeah, so Philip Wegman said Trump floats the idea of bringing the National Guard maybe to bring down the crime rate in D.C. Look, I mean, something needs to be done. Is it a good look? No, it's not a good look. But at what point does the chief police officer of the entire nation, meaning the president of the United States, start to bring law and order back to the United States? If the states don't want to do it themselves, well, that's what the federal government's for. Then we'll make sure it's safe for you. I mean, it's getting a little ridiculous. I don't go up to LA for a reason at all, because it is freaky deaky. It smells funky, and it's just not a safe place. I don't want my wife to go there. I personally don't want to go there because I don't feel like I can even defend her. And if I do, I'm going to get jumped like the guy with the code name Big Balls of Doge got absolutely destroyed. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the picture of him on the ground. So I'll show you that. I mean, dude, the guy got his you know what kicked, man. It was not it was no small thing. Let me see if they still have the picture up of him on the ground. They don't. All right, well, I'll see if I can find it later, but we got more news to cover. It's not that big of a deal, and quite frankly, I don't want to be flagged on YouTube and other social media for showing you somebody that's all bloodied up. So let's see what else we have here in the news. We have this from Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio saying not enough attention given the hostages held by Hamas, Rubio declares. Secretary Marco Rubio said on Wednesday that not enough attention is being focused on the hostages still being held by Hamas. During an interview on Fox Business, host Larry Kudlow noted the Israeli government might engage in a complete military takeover of Gaza, and pressed Rubio on whether he has spoken to the prime minister and whether he thinks Israel is making a wise decision. Let's see a little bit of that.
It's a great pleasure joining us, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Mr. Secretary, a warm welcome. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. And lots going on today The meetings with Russia. Let me start. Mr. Trump on Truth Social. My special envoy, Steve Witkoff. Highly productive meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Great progress was made. The New York Times and other outlets are suggesting a meeting, but it isn't clear whether there's a meeting with President Trump and Putin or whether Zelensky is part of the meeting. Let's begin there. What can you tell us, Mr. Secretary?
Well, Steve went over to Moscow yesterday, Steve Witkoff, Ambassador Witkoff, and had a productive meeting in terms of what was discussed, details that perhaps hadn't been shared before in terms of some ideas about how to bring this war to an end. Let's remind everybody that's the goal here. The president wants to end the war. So it was productive in that sense. We now have to continue to make progress. The president, after getting that update today, convened several leaders from Europe, updated them on what happened in the talks. We're going to be having talks with our European allies and the Ukrainians as well over the next couple of days, just to see what progress we can make on that side of it. And then hopefully, if things continue to progress, an opportunity will present itself very soon for the president to meet both with Vladimir Putin and with President Zelensky at some point here, hopefully in the near future. But obviously, a lot has to happen before that can occur. But I've always believed, I've always said this, that I think for the deal, if there's going to be a deal to end this war, it'll have to require the president to come in at the end and close on it, as I've seen him do numerous times now on trade deals, as an example. So we got to get close enough to that point so that a meeting like that will be productive and worth doing. Today was a good day, but we got a lot of work ahead. There's still many impediments to overcome. And we hope to do that over the next few days and hours, weeks maybe.
Secretary, when Putin talks about ending the war, help me out. What does that mean, ending the war? Is that a ceasefire, which has been called for, and he never delivered on that? A troop withdrawal? Is there a peace deal at hand? I don't want to get ahead of the story, but I'm often asked, what does ending the war mean to Vladimir Putin?
Well, without getting into the details of what was discussed, because I don't want to imperil the progress that was made today, and I don't want to exaggerate it either, but I think we all understand a couple things. At some point, a ceasefire has to be a part of this process because it is hard to negotiate details of a final peace agreement while you're shooting at each other. So I think you have to make enough progress with enough of an outline of how the war is going to end that then ideally puts you into a ceasefire position for a short period of time, and you use that time to finalize an end to the war. But I do think you got to come a long way in understanding how you end the war. The second point that you raise is, I think the key elements of any end of the war are going to be territorial. There are areas that Russia has taken that they currently control, and then that includes Crimea, that goes back all the way to 2014, and some other areas they've made some advances. And then there are, so obviously anytime you're going to make a deal, there's going to have to be concessions. There's going to have to be concessions by the Russians and concessions by the Ukrainians, of course, as well. So that's tough. This is tough when you have a war and people have died. For example, on the Ukrainian side, they've paid an enormous price in this war. So have the Russians, but the Ukrainians have paid a big price in this war. Those concessions aren't easy. You have to also sell them to the public back in your country. But I think what I can say is everybody wants the war to end. I think the conditions under which it's supposed to end that's always the hard part in this. But today was a good day, but there's a lot of work I don't want to exaggerate. We still have a ways to go here, but we certainly are closer today than we were yesterday, where we weren't close at all.
Is Ambassador Witkoff, Steve Witkoff, coming back with a ceasefire proposal?
Yes.
It's like a ceasefire on Thursday, a ceasefire on Friday, a ceasefire on Monday. Is that in the cards? Was that discussed at this meeting?
Well, I don't know about timing in terms of that. That's the specific timing of it is not discussed. I think what we have is a better understanding.
I know this is a long clip, but I actually am enjoying listening to it because it gives you a little bit more insight from the horse's mouth, the guy who's in charge of foreign affairs, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. So not only are we getting a nice glimpse of the meeting between Steve Witkoff, the intentions, what needs to happen, basically the playbook, the strategy that's going to take place here, but we're also going to get a little bit of the Gaza and Israel talk at the end here. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this news clip. Like I said, I apologize that it's long, but sometimes a long clip is the best clip because it's very informative.
Of the conditions under which Russia would be prepared to end the war. We now have to compare that to what the Ukrainians and our European allies, but the Ukrainians primarily, of course, are willing to accept. And what you try to see is how far can you get these two positions closer? How can you get these two positions closer to each other? If we can get what the Ukrainians will accept and what the Russians will accept close enough, then I think there's the opportunity for the president to have a meeting that includes both Putin and Zelensky to try to close this thing out. So we got to get closer in that regard. But I think for the first time, perhaps since this administration began, we have some concrete examples of the kinds of things that Russia would ask for in order to end the war. We haven't had much of that to this point. Obviously, the Ukrainians have a say in this. We got to bring the two sides and the two positions close enough so that the ultimate closer, President Trump, can get involved and make it happen.
Will President Trump and yourself, for that matter, will you still impose the secondary sanctions on Russia Friday?
Well, that's a decision the president will need to make here over the next 24 to 36 hours. A lot of it will depend on how talks, the works we're going to be doing over the next couple of days progress. And then ultimately, it'll be the president's call in terms of whether he still thinks sanctions need to go in place or not in place, pending this thing move forward on. So I don't want to prejudge that. I don't think we're at a stage yet where the president has to make that decision. He'll have to make that decision by Friday. But we're going to be doing a lot of work today and tomorrow to see how close we can bring the two sides and then present that to the president and let him make a decision.
Do you expect President Trump to be on the phone with Putin in the next how many hours?
Maybe. None is scheduled at this time. It could happen over the next couple of days. It could happen, but none is scheduled at this time. But I do think that the talks that Ambassador Witkoff had with Putin and his team over the last few hours is good, because we now have a sense, at least, of what it is they would require. Now, it may not be what Ukraine can accept, but at least it gives us an outline to work off of. And now we got to see how much we can move the two sides towards each other. So, there's no call scheduled right now. And I imagine, I think what all sides would like to see is if we can make enough progress, we'll have a meeting. And I think it'll take that kind of meeting to bring this thing to an end.
And you think, Secretary, that a meeting, quote unquote, either a meeting with Putin or a meeting with the three of them would occur next week? Are you optimistic about that? Yourself included, I suppose. I don't want to shortchange our Secretary of State. But do you think a meeting will come next week?
I don't know if it'll be next week or not. Well, it remains to be seen. I think it'll depend a lot on how much progress we can make. This is important in the sense that we think what happened was good, because we have a sense now of what conditions the Russians would require in order to end the war. Now, they may not be the conditions Ukraine can accept, or frankly, that others would accept, but at least we have something to work off of.
And these conditions, what I'd imagine, again, if he's talking about the meeting between Steve Witkoff and Putin himself, I mean, you're hearing it from the guy of saying that we finally got what he wants, because he said things publicly. It was kind of an interesting point that Marco said earlier was, well, we didn't really know what they wanted up until now. Like, you maybe had like some breadcrumbs, but now we got some really more concrete stuff, something to work with, something to mold around, which I found interesting because Putin did come out and say, and we talked about a while ago, he did say what he would like to happen. I can't even recall what they were. But I do recall covering it here on the show that Putin did release publicly what his demands were, some sort of individual in the Russian government. But it sounds like maybe when Witkoff met with Putin himself, that they were able to concretely get a little bit of what he's looking for from, I guess, Zelensky and maybe even the United States.
So I think a lot of that is going to depend now on how close can we bring the two sides to each other? Can we make enough progress? Can we get 85% of the way there, 75% of the way there? Because I don't think you can have a leaders level meeting if you're not close enough, because then nothing's going to come of that meeting. So we want to get it close enough, and then we want to give the president the opportunity to come in and close it. So I can't prejudge how long that could take. It could take hours. It could take days. Frankly, it could take weeks. We don't know. But we're going to try here. We're working on it, even as we speak.
One last one, Secretary, before I lose you. We appreciate your time so much. Lots of talk coming out of the Middle East. The government of Israel might engage in a military takeover of all of Gaza, the remaining parts of Gaza they don't already control. Have you spoken to the Prime Minister, and do you think that is a wise decision for Israel to take over Gaza altogether?
Well, ultimately, the president has said that it's up to Israel to decide what they need to do for their own security. I've spoken often almost daily to somebody in the Israeli government, often to the prime minister, but many times to many members of his team. Here's what I would say. There are three problems going on there, and they're all interrelated. The first is there is a humanitarian problem that needs to be addressed. We're working very hard to figure out ways to address it in ways that doesn't benefit Hamas, but that allows people to be fed and prevents a further humanitarian problem there that we're seeing now. The second is that there are 20 innocent human beings that are being held hostage in horrifying conditions. And the third is that as long as Hamas exists, there will not be peace. There cannot be a permanent peace. It'll restart again if Hamas remains. There's a lot of attention being paid to the humanitarian, and we want to do everything we can to be helpful on the humanitarian problem, but not enough attention being paid to the fact that 20 people that had nothing to do with this are being held hostage in tunnels on the verge of death, and no real talk about how Hamas needs to be disarmed and disbanded. We have to focus more on those two things. You have to do all three. And all the talk is about humanitarian, which is important. We are willing to do a lot to be helpful there, but we have to focus on the other two. Those other two cannot be forgotten. And the president has said he wants all the hostages out, not 5, not 7, all of them, including the deceased hostages. And ultimately, Hamas cannot continue to exist. Even the Arab League says it. As long as Hamas exists as an armed group in Gaza, there will not be a peace. There will not be a peaceful future, because it's going to happen again. And this can never happen again.
And what some people are talking about with this is a genocide that's taking place by Israel on the Palestinian people. So let me break down just really quickly what genocide is, because it's fascinating to navigate that argument of if genocide is being committed or not. Now, whenever you talk about this stuff, right, you're immediately either a Zionist or you're pro-Palestinian or whatever. You can't just even talk about it as a fly in the wall, as if like, look, I'm not a part of any of this stuff. So we have here, genocide is defined by the 1948 UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. The criteria include acts committed with intent to destroy in whole, or, it's an or statement, in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. These people, or these acts rather, are killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about the people's physical destruction, imposing measures to prevent births within the group, and forcibly transfer children of the group to another group. Key points are intent is critical. These acts must be deliberate, targeting a specific group for destruction. And then the group must be defined by national, ethnic, racial, or religious identity. And the scale can vary. It doesn't require total destruction, but could target a significant portion of the group. Now, the question would be, there's about 5 bullet points there that we just listed. Do you have to meet all 5 to meet the criteria of genocide, or just one? Well, the answer is you don't have to meet all 5, which I think is pretty wild, because, look, killing members of a group, folks, that's war. Like, what? So, I mean, I based on the criteria here, and I might be looking very foolish right now. I'm just doing a very quick research on this. But it says here, to meet the criteria for genocide under the 1948 UN Convention of the Prevention of Punishment and of the Crime of Genocide, it is not necessary to satisfy all 5 listed acts. Committing any one of the 5 acts with the intent to destroy, in part or whole, a national, ethnic, or racial or religious group is sufficient to constitute genocide. Well, isn't that the objective of war, is to destroy in part your enemy? So wouldn't Russia be committing genocide then right now, in a way? Am I missing something here? I mean, you guys are the ones who would let me know. So, like I said, I mean, the Japanese would have committed genocide. Obviously the Germans. I mean, hell, every country at some point has been to war for the most part. I'm sure there's countries that have never been to war, but you get what I'm saying. Wait, what? I don't know. I just think that's a very weird thing, because you can apply that to basically anybody. Interesting. Interesting. Here's some other interesting news that I just found out, which is something I wanted to happen. And by the way, all of you want to happen. So here is some really, really good news for all of you. You're going to enjoy this. So do you remember the big news on the redistricting that was taking place? Actually, let me just go to DC Drano's X page and I'll show you. Okay, you all saw the redistricting stuff that was happening in Illinois and other places, right? We talked about it yesterday. Well, we have this announcement from the President of the United States. It says right here, I have instructed our Department of Commerce to immediately begin work on a new and highly accurate census based on modern day facts and figures, and importantly, using the results and information gained from the presidential election of 2024, people who are in our country illegally, in caps, will not be counted in the census. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This is massive. This is huge. Now, look, there's only two routes. Either we were right or we were wrong. A lot of us believe that the numbers are bloated, that the districts heavily, like in the states of California and maybe New York and others, rely heavily on illegal immigration. So this is huge news for what we wanted. Now, DC Drano had something else here. Look at this. There are millions of Republicans living in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont. And you know how many GOP seats they have in Congress? 0. Do you want to know why? Look at these squiggling lines, man. Look at this crap. Look at some of these. Look at some how it hooks up to the left, right, and comes down. It's just weird. At least, like, you know, some of this looks legit. You know what I mean? But when you get stuff like, oh, we're gonna do like an ear. Look at that, like a backward C, or like it's looking like it's forming a G shape almost. Like, what is this? Does that just seem a little weird? I mean, you got to be kidding me, right? All of this, really? No, there's no red in any of this. Now you could say the same thing about some of these other states. That's fair. But I just raises some eyebrows with this country because, like I said, a lot of people love America, man. You're not seeing any of it over here. I got a lot of questions, especially when you get up north, because right when you get a little bit of the colder weather, right? You get a little bit of the roughneck type of people. The roughneck type of people tend to be Republican. I hate to say it. There's a reason why it's all the coastal areas right on the beaches tends to be red, is because, and I understand this is coastal area, but I'm talking like the bougie areas like California. I mean, even Florida at one moment or another, but we've taken over that as well. But you know what I mean. These people tend to be a little bit more rougher. I'm not saying Democrats can't be rough around the edges. They absolutely can be. They're Americans, baby. But at the same time, I don't know. So this is huge news. This is what we wanted. And by the way, I would rather things be legit. You shouldn't be counting illegal immigrants in your census. You don't get representation for illegal immigrants. I know the Democrats think so because that's all they do is represent illegals and everybody else around the world other than actual Americans. I mean, you don't have to look any further than what you've heard for the last freaking decade from them, giving them everything. Don't get me going. I'm about to freaking lose it. You got a homeless guy, an American veteran sitting on the streets. We saw the videotape of it, panhandling for money and food right there in front of the interview. And then you have illegal immigrants being interviewed, complaining about how the meals that they're getting for free while they're by the way, they're sitting in extra clothes than I wear as they're standing there in the interview, complaining about getting the meals because they were frozen. They didn't really taste good. You're getting free food. Like, you're being fed. By the way, they were overweight. I just want to point out they were hefty. Like, that woman was a big dog. She ain't hurting on feeding and putting food in that mouth. Let me tell you, she is way over calories. Did you guys know? And don't quote me exactly, but I believe this to be true, and I could be wrong. I'm willing to eat it. No pun intended. You have to eat like 3,500 for every pound of weight gained. You have to eat like 3,500 calories or something like that to gain every pound of weight. So if you are obese, that means you're eating way more calories than what you're burning off. 3,500 more calories for every pound of fat. So they eating good is what I'm saying. I have yet to see an illegal immigrant that's skin and bones, mind you, What is this? UFO 50? Okay, I don't know what the hell that is. All right. I thought this was going to be a UFO thing. What is this all about? I don't want to get into that. Look at this redistricting. Look at this. Like, what is this? Current map of Massachusetts congressional districts. They currently have 0 Republicans in Congress. Nice grandstanding. Yeah. I mean, this one, though, doesn't look as bad, I'll admit. I mean, this District 4 going up and kind of looping around, it's just odd to me. But at least it doesn't look as bad as like other ones that we've seen. Ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Let's see what else we have here in the news for all of you fine patriots. Yeah, so the breaking news right now is Trump ordering a new census excluding illegal immigrants from the population. Do we have an article on this? Nope. Everybody's just commenting on his X post or Truth Social post. We might as well call it for what it is. The guy has his own social media thing. You know, there was a clip yesterday that I do want to highlight. Let's at least the quote. And I think it says a lot about Trump. And it almost came across as he felt really it felt like a man losing his friend, like his dog almost. Where is it here? I'm trying to find Trump, what he said about Elon Musk. He said Elon Musk is a good person, and he said it yesterday. Yeah, it's right here. So, and just listen to his tone and kind of the way that he handled it. It's just kind of sad almost.
On that subject, though.
A new Gallup poll says that Elon Musk is the most unpopular public figure in the country right now. I'm wondering, do you miss having him around the White House, or is that poll accurate?
I don't know if the poll's accurate. I think he's a good person. I think he had a bad moment, really bad moment, but he's a good person. I believe that.
Look, for a guy that came out and called you a pedo in front of the world, that has the loudest, I would say Elon Musk has a louder microphone than, or just as much as a microphone, I suppose, as the president of the United States. To call you that in front of the world and then delete it later, for you to come out after the fact and still say, look, he's a good person, the guy just messed up. Trump is not like that. Like, Trump, you cross Trump once, it's game over. It just shows you how beloved I think Trump's relationship was with Elon. And I think he still likes the guy a lot. And it's just kind of sad that, that friendship's kind of done. I think we've all been in friendships like that where you're like, man, it kind of sucks that it didn't work out. And I think a lot of us feel that way probably with a lot of our Democrat friends that decide not to be friends with us because we voted for Donald Trump. I lost majority of my friends in the state of California. You guys want to talk about me not having friends? That's what happened with me. I've always talked about all my Hollywood friends. None of them talk to me. There's one guy, one of the directors of one of the short films I was in, who's awesome, by the way. He'll still talk to me every now and then, and he doesn't hold a grudge. But all the other guys, yeah, they don't want anything to do with me. They won't film with me. They won't even talk with me. They want nothing to do with me. So, and it is what it is. Hey, I'll still be friends with you, but if you don't want to be friends because I voted for a guy, that's wild. Anyways, we have a Tennessee National Guard has been deployed to help carry out Trump's massive deportations. Here we go. This is breaking right now.
Governor Lee is mobilizing the Tennessee National Guard to help with mass deportations.
Just one moment. Why is it? It's always the same people with the buzzed head, the butched haircuts, out there protesting. This guy's still trying to live like it's freaking Woodstock out here. Why is it the same people all the time? You notice that? Or it's the colorful hair. I'm not saying I'm the standard, but I've never even been to a protest ever.
To help with mass deportations, ICE has already conducted multiple raids across the state. According to data, they've detained almost 2,700 people since June 10th. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security now asking Tennessee for help. Governor Lee.
Where's this lady at? Hold on a second. She's crying. I know you guys can't see because the chat's in the way. do you think, like, I don't mean to be a jerk. Like, it's sad if you're having a family member removed. It's your family member. And I don't know if that's the case. But my question is there any sort of thought process in the mind of the individual that this is the fault of my father or my brother or whoever came here illegally, and that they knew that they were making a risk by doing this? Do you know what I mean? In the same, it's like gambling, right? If you were to go and take, $100 and throw it on the craps table, let's say roulette, and you're like, hey, I'm gonna throw $100 on the roulette table, 50-50 chance. I'm gonna get, well, it's not 50-50, but pretty close to it. I want to throw it on black, and then red comes up and you lose your $100. Are you gonna blame the pit boss or the dealer himself for you losing that money? Or is it because you had the action and you knew the consequence of when you went up to that roulette table and you threw down that hundy, that there was a good chance, a pretty good chance, by the way, that you were going to lose that $100? But are you still going to go out of your way and blame not just the pit boss, but also the dealer himself for taking that $100 from you? And you're going to start whining, bitching, moaning, complaining for a guy doing his job. In the same way here, who's the pit boss? Well, the pit boss is Tom Homan. And who's the guy that's the dealer? Those are the ICE agents that are going out and taking the money. In other words, taking the illegal immigrants off the streets. Now, is there any sort of recognition from family that maybe you took the risk of putting that $100 down on that roulette table, and now that roulette money's gone, your money's gone? It's a great analogy, by the way, because that's what gambling is. You took a gamble to break the law. You got caught for it, and now you're being apprehended. I don't understand it. Folks, we all gamble. Everything in life is about gambling. It's all about risk. They're called actuaries. There's people that make six figures calculating risks all the time. All the time. I would like to point out that a lot of you take these risks all the time. You driving to Starbucks, I almost called it Starbucks. You taking the trip to Starbucks and buying a drink, there's a risk there. You driving to school. I always think it's interesting with this new cell phone ban that's taking place that all these people are talking about. That, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to get a hold of my kid in case of an emergency. There's so many school shootings happening. How am I going to get to be able to talk to my kid? So let's go to this here. Everybody's talking about these cell phone bans.
With my students about this new Texas ban for cell phones. So we had a PD yesterday about the law, the new law that was passed in Texas, that there's absolutely no cell phones in sight ever at school. Not during passing period, not in the bathroom, not at lunch, not ever. And if you know anything about this new generation of kids, they love their cell phones. Yep. When I was in school, I graduated in 2012. It's bad. 2012. And that wasn't too long ago. We could not have phones. So that's completely normal for me. However, I'm very nervous for next week when I tell, especially my freshmen, because I don't know them, that they cannot have a cell phone at all, not for a second. They can't pull it out to check the time, to text their mom back, nothing. So I am curious about how is your school handling that? What is their protocol when you do see a cell phone? And
yeah, but you know what? It shouldn't come down to you having to explain this to the kid. I just want to go to the chat. Just go to, let's see if we have logic and reasoning here and see if people know who the true educator is in a kid's life. Who is the one before this kid ever enters the grounds of the school system or the school grounds? Who is the one that should be sitting their kid down and explaining them all of this? Let's go to the chat here really quick. Let's see if we just have common sense, like anything at all. Who is the person that should be sitting down their kid and explaining the cell phone ban that's taking place? Just want to see who it might be. Let's just take a shot in the dark of the responsibility somebody should have of explaining things to their kid. I kind of gave you the answer. Exactly, Bets, the parents. Yeah, Jeff gets it. Danielle gets it. Kenneth gets it. So my question is, now I'm getting fucking riled up here. I'm getting pissed off. Because why do we act so freaking dumb all the time and act like it's the teacher's job to teach your kid everything there is possible about life? Why don't you sit your kid down and explain to them, you're not getting your phone, kid, because it's against the law. Don't wait for your teacher to tell you that you can't have your phone. You shouldn't be walking into the classroom going, what? What? I can't have my phone? What? The fuck we talking about here? Why are we acting so stupid all the time? Like, oh, I'm so stressed out, I'm going to have to tell my kids in this class that they can't have their phone. I mean, talk about how freaking spoiled are we as a country that we are so worried that kids can't have their phones. We couldn't have fucking water when we were kids. Y'all remember that? We had to go the entire school day with barely getting one sip of water. You had to count to 3 just to get as much water as you could on a break if you were lucky. Oh my God, what are they going to do? They're just so used to having their phones on them. Well, isn't that a problem? How am I going to communicate with my kid? How am I going to talk to them? The same way everybody else did for all of human history. You could call the school. You can email the teacher of whatever class they're in. Don't act like you don't have their schedule. And by the way, why are you emailing your kid during class anyways? Do you kind of see the problem?
And if there's any teachers that are in Texas that have started school, how is that working out in your classroom? Because I'm already thinking about ways that I can address the situation, because there's like levels to the consequences, like ISS, taking the phones up. Parents have to come and pay $15 to get it back. Y'all, I don't have time to be fighting with kids over these cell phones.
It's true. But the school is just something have in place where, hey, you just have security come and take it. I don't mess around with stuff like that. If I have something, like I remember when I was up at Burbank High School, I probably had the school security come to my room almost every day. And I don't play around and just say, hey, if you don't want to be here, leave. By the way, I am still like that. If you ask any of my former students, I literally tell them, if you don't want to be in here, leave my classroom right now. In that same exact tone. If you are going to disrupt my class and the other people that are in here because you don't want to be here today, I'm not going to make you sit in my room. You guys, I'm looking at you dead in the face right now. Get out of my class. That's how I talk to them if they want to disrupt my class. I don't put up with shit. I love them to death. But my class specifically, the reason why I can get away with this is they don't have to take my course. They've already met their math requirements. So if you don't want to be there, then don't be there. You have to literally elect to go out of your way to take my class. So if you don't want to take AP statistics because it's too hard, guess what? You don't have to take it. And so if there's a kid sleeping in there or acting up or doing something, I look at them, I said, hey, and I'll call them out in front of everybody. You know me, I don't give a shit. Hello? You don't have to be in here, man. And I'm kind about it. Don't get me wrong. I got a little tone to myself, but you got to be a little bit stern. And I literally tell them, you don't have to be in here. If you want to talk to somebody, you guys can go outside and talk. And they always think I'm joking. They always, like, I'm not saying they're laughing. They don't not, because teachers don't do that to them. Where I'm like, yo, you could just leave. Just leave. Like, you could go walk around campus or go to counseling if you want to get that. I always say, because there's a social emotional stuff. If you need social emotional health, go to counseling. I will call them right now. I will stop the class. I will call counseling and I will let them know you're coming and say, hey, they don't want to be in class today. They're going to go hang out with you guys up there in counseling. And I'm as serious as a heart attack, you guys. That's exactly what I say. Or I tell them, if you want to continue and you act like you want to be in here, I will request you to be dropped from my class. You don't have to be in my class. So that's how I handle it. And the same way here, look, what should happen is you just get escorted out of school. You want to bring a cell phone, have the parents come pick up the kid. The parent has to feel the pain of them not parenting correctly. So you know what? You get to come pick up your kid. You have to leave work constantly because your kid doesn't want to do what they're going to do. That's what needs to happen. Let's see what else is going on here.
Put your phones away. That's the new law impacting every kid in every school in New York.
Being like, picking it up every like 4 and 5 minutes and it's like for no reason. It's annoying.
It can be distracting.
I don't think everybody should be punished for that.
So I'm like in between for both.
I don't think it should be all taken away. Especially if you're like in high school, you should definitely have your phone in class.
What if there's
Yeah.
a school shooting and my kid have to reach out to me?
It takes effect at the beginning.
By the way, there's been studies done on that. If your kid has to reach out to you, if there's a school shooting, it's like, hey, by the way, a lot of schools understand that, so they're willing to bend the knee slightly of saying, okay, well, they can have their cell phone in their backpack, they just can't use it. I want to point out, and this is the part that always floors me, is a lot of these people drive their kid to school or have their kid ride their bike or whatever to school, right? Do you guys realize that there is way greater of a chance of your kid or you getting in an auto accident, like a horrific auto accident, just going to school every day, than there is your kid ever experiencing a school shooting? That's why that argument totally falls out the window. Well, how am I going to get a hold of them if they have a school shooting? It's like, if you're so worried about a school shooting happening, one, you should be going out there to all your districts and getting campus security going and police officers on campus left and right. Because if you're that serious about a school shooting happening where your kid just must have a cell phone, which, by the way, there were school shootings happening when I was in school. I didn't have a cell phone. Gee, somehow we all made it through with school shootings. People act like school shootings haven't been happening since like the 60s. If you want to go to the famous one in 1999 with Columbine, all this stuff was happening, but we act stupid here. That's what we need to do. We need to act stupid. Well, what's going to happen if there's a school shooting? What does happen? We don't have drills or training for that whatsoever.
In September, every school has to come up with their plan.
By the way, if it's that important, then you can have the teacher. We have phones. We have emails. Your student has an email, by the way. You can just toss them email. There you go. And by the way, there's also a conversation to be had. If there's a school shooting, should your kid be talking on the phone while a guy's blowing up the school somewhere? Oh, that's just fun. That's like what you see in every horror film, by the way. Hey, oh my God, I'm in room. Right? Just hysterically crying when you're trying to keep the person quiet because you don't want them to know that anybody's in the room. Right? Just looking and glance, see if there's lights in there. Oh, that's great.
By August 1st, of what they're going to do with the phones when kids arrive every morning. For example, the Yonder pouches. Those are the ones you've seen probably at concerts. They lock up, and the school's chancellor says they'll be ready to start on day one.
And you want to see what, like, just a lot of people are. They're just stupid. Anything but banning guns. Guns are already banned in schools and have been. Not always, by the way. I want to point out, a lot of people forget this. You used to be able to do target practice with firearms, live round munitions on schools in your lifetime, by the way. If you go back and you look at the old textbooks, this is what's always fun. If you go back and look at the old textbooks in your guys' lifetimes, by the way, and maybe potentially in mine, depending on when they actually got rid of the textbook, you would see there's actually classes where you get to do live round ammunition firearm training on school campuses, by the way. Old school. But I love that. Oh, but you can't ban anything but guns. Guns are already banned on campus. You can't have them. So that's what they're doing. What am I going to do in case of an emergency? Isn't that a problem, though? Like, you don't know what to do when there's a school shooting. So that's what's taking place. People are all freaking out. What are we going to do? I don't know. Maybe read a book, learn something for once. And they always go, the other thing I'm seeing is, oh, wow, the teachers can't have the phone. They can't. If students can't have their phones, teachers can't have their phones. Like, what? Teachers can't. What's the reasoning behind that? Because I know my subject that I teach. And by the way, I know most of the subjects that the other students learn as well. So it's weird. I can do it. I could put my phone away while I'm teaching. And by the way, I usually have my phone out, or at least in my pocket. And the reason why is I use my phone as a timer. Could I use something else? Absolutely. And sometimes I do. Also, we have to use our phones for two-way authenticator, or whatever it's called, the multi-authenticator. So every time I log into something, I have to get the authenticator from my phone on here. Also, we call parents from our cell phones every now and then. There's apps that we use to call them. there's emails that we get through our phones. You're walking around the classroom constantly. You're actually not even supposed to be sitting down as a teacher. I think that's stupid because I sit down and lecture every now and then. There's a ton of reasons why an adult who's fucking fully functioning can have a cell phone in their hand and be able to function appropriately. But for some reason in society, I guess teachers are just students now. I guess teachers aren't professionals anymore. It's not an actual job, and that we're just to the level of these students that we're teaching. What you're seeing is what people actually think of teachers. And that's one of the big problems that we have in this country is our culture looks down on teachers. And maybe there's various reasons for that, because we've all been through the school system and maybe seen a bad teacher or a knucklehead teacher that may not know exactly what they're doing. But that's you basically have degraded what it means to be a teacher. If now you're thinking, well, teachers shouldn't have cell phones either. No, I fucking work here. Like, I'll wear a hat every now and then on these days that I'm allowed to like kind of dress down, wear jeans. It's very rare, but I'll throw on a hat every now and then because I'm bald. My head gets cold. And I've had students in the past go, Mr. Roberts, if we're not allowed to have hats, why are you allowed to wear a hat? Because they think, is that a crazy thing to say to somebody that literally is an employee? And so I look at them, I go, well, I work here. I go, I'm not a student. It's my job. I work here. See, there's a thing called a student handbook and a thing called an employee handbook. I get paid to be here. You don't. There's a reason why I get to have a hat on. And by the way, what they also don't realize is, guess what? Okay, let's do it. Let's take away cell phones and certain benefits from teachers. Good luck having that teacher stay there. There's a thing called perks and jobs. We've all gotten them before, right? Like you already have a job. And maybe you're looking at future prospects of other places of employment. What can you offer me to work here if you want me so bad because I'm good at my job? What do you have that's so much greater than the place I'm currently at that I'm willing to pack up my stuff and leave and go to you? Hey, we offer this. We offer, you work in remote 4 days a week. You just got to come in the office 1 day a week. We offer you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We have different packages for plans for you to use 24-hour fitness. We'll bring in some P90X instructors. We got this, that, bada bing, bada boom. If it's better than where you're already at, you might as well go there and maybe negotiate something with your current employer. If your current employer doesn't do that, well, they don't value as much as the other person's going to. So you go to that other place. It's a perk to be able to get certain things at your employer, and people realize that. So let's see what Sam has to say here, because Sam says that she's a teacher. Welcome. So am I. Cool. I'm surprised nobody tried to get him fired for the show. We'll have it, but kids can't stay off it. Teachers are allowed. No, I've been talked to about the show, but I don't say anything wrong here on the show. I'm not racist. I don't want anything bad to happen to anybody. I just speak the truth. And sometimes, here's the thing, people just don't like the way that you speak, but I've been talked to already. And nothing, like, they didn't find anything. They requested certain things to be taken down, but the biggest thing would just be the illegal immigration. People don't like illegal immigration. And the reason why is because, there's students that you have in your school system that have parents that are illegal immigrants, and they don't like it. I've always mentioned my job inside the classroom is not to speak politics to the kids. That's not my job. In some way, shape, or form, it is, because, for example, I teach like a finance class, right? So taxes ends up getting political because you're being taxed based on somebody's political decisions, based on a representative that's in Congress making the decisions on behalf of the people that are voting for them. So in some way, shape, or form, politics does get brought up, but I'm not there to inject my ideology other than me saying, hey, this is what the general ideology is of, the finance world in terms of personal finance. Statistics gets in the realm of politics because you're talking about margin of error, right? And so a lot of the times it's just easier to say something that's not abstract that students have seen. For example, when you're talking about margin of error, for example, a lot of times students will experience this, especially when you're dealing with seniors about to go into voting, is that on the teleprompter, on the Chiron screen at the bottom, we'll say plus or minus 2%, plus or minus 3%. Well, where do they get that from? That's talking about politics in some way, shape, or form. You're bringing it up. I usually talk about CNN and Fox. I'll use both. But I don't say anything on here that I think is outrageous. I really don't. And I think if I did, you guys would call me out for it. We have thousands of people that watch this podcast every month. in the realm of something like 20,000 people watch my podcast. Not to mention millions of people every month watch my TikTok channel. I think if I said anything absolutely outrageous, I think it would have come out already because I've been doing this for 4.5, going on 5 years, February. And by the way, if they decide to let me go based on a podcast where I don't say anything remotely wrong, then that just shows the true colors of where I'm at. But I love my place of business. I get along with all my employees, my coworkers. I get along with all my students for the most part. I'm sure some of them might not like me, but their job isn't to like me. I try my best, but at the end of the day, I'm there to teach them specifically a subject. And if they want to be cool with me and me cool with them, then that's great. That's the icing on the cake. But my job there is to make sure that they get out of my class knowing the curriculum and making sure that they're taken care of on that end. So I don't talk about illegal immigrants. By the way, I had a student last year that's father was literally deported during school. Not like at the school, but like during the school year. And she didn't come to class for a while. I didn't judge her. I didn't do anything. I just, when she came back, by the way, said good morning to me every single day. I've talked about her on the show. I feel bad. But my job is not to berate her or talk bad about her father or anything of that nature. I'm sure it's actually a really great guy. He raised an amazing individual, by the way. It's a very sad circumstance, but my job is to make sure that she, amidst all that stress that she's going through because her father just got deported, that I am able to help her succeed and overcome that obstacle. That's my job. My job isn't go, put in my opinions. Hey, okay, well, what do you need? How can I service you? How can I help you in the best way possible so that you can overcome this obstacle and still do really well in your academics? That's my job. You don't bring in your political viewpoints into your workplace, do you? You don't bring in your opinions and start berating your coworkers. I know some people do that on the left. I'm not one of those people. My job is to not bring in my personal life into the classroom and start dictating how somebody should be taught based on morality and all that other stuff. That is not my job. That is the job of the parents. And the problem is with the school systems across the entire United States is, one, there are teachers that think that's appropriate. And there's also now parents that think that our job as educators is to teach your kid about morality and all these other things. No, it's not. You're the number one educator in your student's or your son or daughter's life, not me. And I don't even feel comfortable doing that. By the way, if there's any youngsters that are watching the show, it is awkward as a teacher to have to discipline, air quotes, a student. And I tell them straight to their face when I'm done saying, hey, if you don't want to be here, don't be here. Or I have to give them a detention or something. I straight up tell them, I say, do you know how awkward this is for me? This is exactly what I do. Hand to God. I tell them, I say, this is awkward for me. I go, I'm a stranger technically. Like, I know you, like we're in here every day, but I don't know you. Like, I'm just some random guy that's teaching you math and you're acting up and treating this classroom like it's something that it's not. I said, isn't that awkward for you? Like, you acting like this to a complete stranger? Like, would you do this to somebody on the street? Would you talk to them in that manner? Because if you would, then, hey, more power to you. But that's normally not how things function and work. It's awkward for me to discipline you. I don't even know you. I said, can you imagine how awkward that is for me? You go up to somebody on the street and just randomly start disciplining them, going, I'm going to give you a detention. You're acting out of line. This is weird. Wouldn't you think that's kind of awkward? And honestly, normally they're like, yeah, that is a little weird. Correct, because that's how I feel right now. I don't even know you. I know your name. I know how you perform in this class and some of the sports you play. But outside of that, I don't know anything about you. I would like to. When's their time? I don't know. I usually try to get to know them a little bit, but isn't that awkward? Like, you have to discipline somebody you don't even know? It's weird, dude. And by the way, for you to act like that with a complete stranger is also weird. Like, the fact that you would even think that's normal, like, would you, like, we all act a little bit different. Like, we all act reserved, right? When we go to like a friend's house when we were kids, or like a sleepover, and you see their parents and you're kind of like on your best behavior, right? Because you're like, I don't know these people. Like, I don't know how they're going to act or do all these things. But when you get into school, you're just like, oh, well, F it. Like, I'm gonna act like an idiot. It's like, why? That's awkward. It's weird. Now, the nice thing is I teach people who are 17, 18-year-olds. So mostly they get it when you start talking to them like an adult. They're like, okay, now, again, I'm not rude to them. I try to be polite and kind, but I do say like, that's normal. Now, when I'm stern, like when I say get out of my classroom, I'm being serious about that. I am stern with that one because it's true. Like, I tell them all the time, like, especially the elective, the finance class I teach, I say, you chose to be in here. Like, it's literally an elective class. And I told you for the first 2 weeks of school that the class is boring because you're talking about finances at 8 a.m. in the morning. It's not thrilling stuff to learn how to write a check, folks, and talk about how a credit card works and all these other things. It's not. Here we are, Sean. So Sean is up to $200 now in the past few days. I appreciate you. I come from a family of educators. I'm just the black sheep that ended up in Middle East with the military. Sending some love and respect, brother. Go get yourself a beer and take a breath. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it, man. Another $4.99. The guy's bonkers. By the way, Sean, a lot of people were really thought it was cool that a lot of the military people you have listening and tuning into the show. So a lot of us here, Patriots, thought that was a really cool thing. By the way, we were talking about it on our Dark MAGA podcast, where we go premium members only for a couple times a week. So we were talking about you and how cool it was just to see, because we're big on the military here. So thank you so much for always supporting the show. So. But yeah, anyways, going back, I haven't talked to you about the podcast. It wasn't anything bad. Like, they didn't say I said anything bad. It was more along the lines of my employer basically saying, hey, like, we want to support you and help you. And this is what and I think it was a leftist teacher, to be honest, that flagged it. I'm pretty sure. Like, I got talked to about minimum wage. So the two things I got talked to the most about were my minimum wage video and illegal immigration. So the minimum wage thing caught me off guard because I've always said that I think there should be minimum wage, but the minimum wage should be based on a state level, not a federal level. And that's what I also, by the way, that's what I also emphasize in finance. And because I tell them, I said, just put yourself in middle America. Speaking of middle America from Sean here, like you are what the minimum wage right now, I think the federal minimum wage is what, $7.50, I believe it is, or something like that. Like, it's low. But then on the coastal areas, like, the state minimum wage is higher. Let's just play this out really quick. I know state wage and federal minimum wage are two different things. But like, if you were to double the federal minimum wage, like, that's for the entire United States. But there's like, when you do that, you just doubled somebody's payroll, basically. Like, these mom and pop shops, which make up majority of businesses across the United States still. I know people think of the Walmarts. Whenever you hear people talk about minimum wage, they always talk about the McDonald's, the Walmarts, these big chain stores. They don't realize that this also affects the mom and pop shops and mostly affects the small businesses across the United States, which makes up about 80% of the businesses of the United States. So if you just doubled somebody's payroll, they can't inherit that kind of cost. Like, you just put them out, their margins aren't that big. So that's what I always talk about. I say, if you had a business and here's your margins and I just doubled your payroll, what are you going to do? And I don't tell them that they should or shouldn't believe in something. I just ask them, what would you do to solve this problem? Usually it's in the form of budgeting, or when we're going over the tax lesson in the spring, because that's tax season. So anyways, enough of that. But hopefully I'm not coming across as if I don't love my job. I'm just being real with you guys that, there's problems with it. Still love it. But in terms of what I do here on the show, I think educators 100% should still be allowed to have a life outside of work. Like, I just think it's crazy. And if I can't, then maybe that's not a career that I want, by the way, because I should be able to have a life, no matter if I'm still a public accountant, no matter if I'm doing whatever. I think people should be able to have a public life. And especially if you're not saying anything astronomically crazy. Oh, gee, hey, I don't want criminals harming you. If I get fired for that, that's wild. Oh, gee, I want your kid to succeed in the classroom. Maybe it's a good idea that they put their phone away so they could focus and be successful in the classroom. Wow, terrible. Hey, I don't want illegal immigrants in this country because it's breaking the law, and I want people to follow the laws. Wow, horrible. Hey, I don't think there should be a federal minimum wage. There should be a state minimum wage, which, by the way, you'd get paid more on a state minimum wage than you would ever on a federal minimum wage. God, that's terrible. Gee, horrible. Hey, I don't want Putin to invade Ukraine and kill a bunch of young men. I would love for their lives to prosper and then to go home to their families, to their daughters and their sons and their wives and their parents. Gee, God, that's fucking terrible. Do you know what I mean? Like, what do I really, some of you have been with me for 4 years. Like, what do I say here on the show? Can't leave a tip for you on here, man. What's up with that? Yeah, you can. People leave tips on here. And by the way, I would rather you leave a tip on Rumble because they take less. But if you want to leave a tip, Keith, might as well, here, I'll send you this. I'll take your money real quick, Keith. I would rather you guys tip me here because I get more of it through my website. And by the way, it will send me an email of who you are. And if you want, I could read it. It will send me an email and I can read it here live on the show. So you guys can tip me through my website and I get 97% of that money. YouTube, and maybe this goes for Sean in the future, YouTube takes 30% cut, man. So I don't get the full $49.99. Whereas if you did it through my website, I actually get 97% of that money. And it will send me an email. And if I don't get it to the show today, like in terms of reading it, then I'll get it to it the next day. Like, for example, C-Dog donates $10 a month over at my website. And then so does Jerry. Jerry does $2. I believe Karen does it as well. Some of you do the $4.99 over at the website too. So some of you guys do one-time big donations as well. Let me just bring this up here. So this is what it looks like. If you want to donate here, you can just do custom amount and just do a one-time donation. I mean, you can modify it however you would like. But that's there for you guys. I highly recommend you use this over anything else. It's just sometimes I might not see that read come through until maybe tomorrow's podcast or something like that. But we have moderators here that will get my attention and say, hey, Brad, somebody donated through the, or saying in the chat they donated through the website. That's something we can definitely do. But, let me see here. I mean, a lot of you guys have been with me for years. Have I ever said anything that's like outlandish? Let's see. Just a tip, Keith might want to get a signed permission slip from Brad for that first. Jesus, Craig, that is funny. I don't see the $sign on Rumble. I don't know. I see a different kind of, my screen is different than you guys. Look for the green $sign on. Oh yeah, it's down at the bottom of the chat. Here, let me show you. Look at me, just working, hustling hard, trying to. It's right here. Oh, God, my freaking big old head's in the way. It's right here, you guys, down at the bottom. I'm trying to highlight it for you. Let me. Does it work? Right here. Oh, it's big $sign. Jesus, where is this at? This here will take your money. And I don't know what this is. I think this is a gift. It's one of these two. Put in $100. Yeah, you can go to the website too. That's there for you. I'm trying to go a little bit longer today, only because today is, what's today, Thursday? And then tomorrow's Friday. Remember, starting Monday, we're going to have a hard out at 7 because I got to go back to work. But really, I want to go back to the chat here and ask you guys, mind you, let me see here. Trojan horse. Yeah, Trojan horse is up. Brad, everything you say is in a reasonable manner. Yeah, that's what I think. No, Brad's never been out of line. Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, and by the way, it's not my personality to be out of line. I'm trying to think like something that I believe that's like super outlandish and crazy. I guess the most extreme viewpoint I have, honestly, and I've said this outspoken, is the Second Amendment. Like even my friends, I think out of all my friends, like I'm way more Second Amendment than they are. I think that's my most extreme viewpoint that I think I hold personally is Second Amendment. That's like, I think you should just, if you can afford it, you can buy whatever you want. Can't, other than a nuke. I mean, obviously, right? That's pretty crazy, but there's an extent, but other than that, like, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think I've said anything that would get me fired. The biggest thing I think that there would be pushback on is my stance on illegal immigration, that I don't think that should be a thing, but okay. Nothing happens to you. A guy said something and okay. Wow. Okay. So Sean set up monthly for $100. Thank you, man. Holy Lordy. God bless you. I appreciate that. Keeping the lights on here. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you guys for helping support the show. That's great. I was saying, I don't even know, like, hopefully you guys feel like you get your money's worth out of the show for those that donate. That's a big deal to me, to make sure that you guys feel like you get something out. I guess you do, because you're willing to donate. So I appreciate that. Double click if you're on the iPhone. By the way, don't forget, we're getting the Discord set up. I want to get that hopefully figured out today or tomorrow by the end of the weekend, so we can get everybody in there as much as possible and start growing that, and we can continue our chats offline. Let me just really quick before we end, let me see if there's any breaking news right now other than the new census. But if you guys want to add in there what you think about the cell phone ban as well, I think it's a great idea. I think students should be able, by the way, if my true belief on it is, I think you should have your cell phone with you. But I'm 100, what I've seen happen in the class, it's crazy, man. I don't even have words to describe how destructive cell phones are for students, along with social media, and just the internet in general. So I am actually a big proponent of having students cut off from a lot of this stuff. It is, you guys, really, it's sad to see. And I always talk about this with students, is because they're my seniors and I treat them, because they're going into college. They need to know how to navigate this road sooner or later. So I'm always cool with them when they're working on stuff to listen to music. I'm actually okay with them watching Netflix on their devices as long as they're working. I'm roaming around the class monitoring it. If they finish their work in time and it's good, like I could check everything in real time, by the way. I have a system that I use, and I can actually go to their screens because they have iPads. I could watch from my iPad anybody's screen, or I could see all their screens at the exact same time. And so I'm monitoring this stuff because I'm like that, where I like to listen to music. I listen to classical music when I'm working, and I like to maybe watch something while I'm working as well. Hey, look, if you get your stuff done, then that's great. And by the way, I tell them, if you're going to do this and you're not going to get your work done, then I'm going to give you a detention for doing something you shouldn't be doing. I'm already giving you an inch, and if you want to take a mile, well, then you're going to lose that privilege, because now I'm going to lock you out of that app altogether, and you're not going to be able to use it at all. So it's a happy medium where they still get to use their phones in the classroom. But in Texas, you're not going to be able to do that, by the way. Texas, you can't do that whatsoever, even if the teacher wanted you to, because it's against the law. But that's how I roll. Now, if they have, sometimes the ladies will put earbuds in their ears and they'll be listening to music while you're teaching with their hair over. That ain't going to fly with me. So I don't even tell them. Sometimes I'll point to this and go like that. I won't even say anything. I'll just look at them and go like that. They know exactly, and they'll start taking it out. Or if they want to be sneaky and keep doing it, then I'll just write them up for detention without them even telling them. And they just get pulled up to the office and they're like, why am I here? What happened? Oh, Mr. Roberts wrote you up for detention. I tell them, I was like, you guys, I'm not going to tell you that you're getting a detention. You'll just find out. So let's see what people are saying. No cell phones in class, lunch only, otherwise in the locker. If there's an emergency, the message will get to you. Yeah, and Craig, let me add on to that. The reason why I think a lot of the schools are not including it in lunches either is because what students are doing, and they'll do this outside of school as well, but they'll take their phones into the bathroom, and these women and these guys will do like a dick pic or like a titty pic, and they'll be sending them to each other. I'm not saying they already don't do that outside of the school, but if you can at least limit to where that's taking place, which by the way is illegal to send a picture of yourself from a minor, even to a minor, that's actually illegal. Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that. By the way, there's people that make drug deals during lunch. Like, if you can at least limit that behavior and that kind of transaction on campus, I think that's always best for everybody. You guys, this idea that these kids are just holier than thou, that they're little angels, that nothing weird and nefarious is going on. You have to understand that these kids are on social media. Their brains aren't fully developed, so they actually are not able to physically comprehend. That frontal lobe is not able to comprehend that what you're doing now is going to affect some sort of thing in the future. They're incapable of doing it. I'm not beating them up. That's why some kids struggle with mathematics, because that critical thinking has not actually fully developed in their brain yet. So it's not that they're dumb. It's not developed to the point where they're actually even able to do it. That's why some students start excelling exponentially in college, because they just have that brain development that's taking place, that the wires are finally crossing correctly. So that's why when a kid does something stupid, they go, you ask them like, why'd you do that? They go, I actually don't know why I did that. They're being honest. They literally don't know why they did it, because they're not capable of knowing why they did it. So this solves the Mr. Roberts has a test problem. Yeah. Oh, it's not just me that has a test problem. Students are just taking pictures of tests. It's not just my class. My class is actually pretty good because I walk around. I'm like a hawk, man. I get to see everything. And you want to know what I do? I don't even, put it this way, I don't even take the test away from the kid. I just put a 0 in the grade book and I let them finish it. Yep. I mean, I will do whatever they're doing that's cheating. I'll remove that, right? Like I've seen the cell phone stuff all the time, or a piece of paper. The one I caught last year there's a full-on piece of paper on his desk. Just like the formula is just copying straight up in front of my face. And so all I did was I just took the paper. I went over to my desk. I took a photo with my cell phone because I wanted to make sure that if somebody went in my room and took it, that I'd still have it. And I just gave him a 0. And by the way, I told the parents, I was like, hey, you know what? He also tends to disrupt class. He does this or that. And I gave him a 0. I let him finish the test. This is what he scored on the test, even after I let him finish it. And look, if things change throughout the year, I will give him the grade that he got even after cheating. Now, he wanted to still act like a knucklehead. He showed up late to his final, didn't give a crap, so ended up getting a terrible grade. So I gave him a 0 though, and I didn't even tell him. I didn't go, hey, I didn't take away test. I just handled it. Just took away. I didn't even say anything to the guy. I just took away the slip, walked away. There's no escalation. Just gave him a 0. And that's what you have to do nowadays, because you can't fight these kids. By the way, it's not worth fighting them on. Like, you did something wrong. I'm not going to, like, I don't need to tell you that you did something wrong. You've been in school your entire life. For 15 years, you've been in school. I don't need to tell you that you did something wrong as a 17, 18-year-old. Like, if you're speeding, does a cop need to tell you that you're speeding? Some of you, yes, but most of you get it. I don't need to tell you you're getting a detention. You know you're supposed to be wearing this or doing that or bada bing, bada boom. Yeah, you'll just get a detention. You'll find out when you get there. Like, when you guys run a red light, it's not like, oh, I think I ran a red light. Like, oh, I really ran that red light. And then the camera catches you, sends you a ticket in the mail. And you go, well, I didn't run that. It's like, I think you did. I think you did. So anyways, let's see what we got here. All right, I think we'll end it here. A little bit of a different show. Sorry for going on a tangent about the education system, but you guys know how I am. That's the field I work in. Frontal lobe is not fully developed until 25. Yep. Well, that's for some, Craig. That's for some. That's not for everybody. Some people develop it actually quicker than other people, but yeah. And again, the key word is fully developed there. That's what I love is my master's degree is. And this doesn't mean I know everything, but I've through that in a master's in teaching, you have to learn how people learn and how things have been taught over thousands of years, at least from what we're able to gather. And so, yeah, the fully developed is key. There's still development happening. It's just at what stage is that development in for that student. And I'm not saying that's the end all be all for learning. That's not what I'm saying. It's just one component in the frontal lobe thing is utter bullshit. No, it's not. It's legitimately not. Dave, that one I'm gonna push back on, Dave. It is 100% not. It's one of the it's excuse to enable stupidity. No, it's not. It's legitimately not. Dave, we've all seen kids, brother. There's a reason. So you're going to tell that to a toddler that their behavior is stupid and it's just an excuse because their brain isn't developed? Come on, man. Now, it is fair to say that there is an extent that it is and does get used as an excuse from time to time. Like, oh, well, boys will just be boys or they're just teenagers. I do agree. But there is truth to there's things that are happening by an individual that they're not able to fully comprehend and to solve because of the development of the brain. Okay. But I think I understand where you're coming from is, well, it's just utilized as an excuse to get off on said behavior, but not all the time. And again, you can always find times in whatever thing I propose as, well, that's bad in this scenario. I'm sure it is. But most of the time, in general, I like to talk about in generals because that's where I think we can find common ground is on the in generals. Most of the students struggle with finding some sort of problem solving or a future implication of said thing that's happening currently because of the development of the brain. And that's why toddlers do things that are irrational. They don't know what they're doing. And I mean, it's a very simplistic form, but other way around, it's developed enough much earlier. Yeah, sometimes it is. And by the way, you see that with women. Women develop a lot sooner than men do through puberty and just through biology. And so that is why women tend to be easier to teach in the education system. They're more calm than men are because men are biologically different, and they also develop at a slower rate than women do. Women are on average, I think, 2 to 3 years more developed than men tend to be. And I've noticed that in the classroom. For me, women are a lot easier to teach than men in the sense of men are kind of, they want to be doing something, want to be on the go. But anywho, by the time you're 16, you know better. Most people just don't care. Yeah, that's true. But again, you're missing the idea that there's a thing called like an action or activity that's impulsive that they do thinking that it's the right thing to do, but they don't understand what the negative side of that is later on. So, for example, you could do something that's bad and there's a degree of bad, but you don't know how bad it is until that. You don't know how bad that is going to affect you later on, but you still did said action thinking that bad behavior is not going to be that bad. There's both bad, but what I'm saying is they don't understand that consequence has a very drastic consequence later on in life. Well, what's an example? Well, you stealing something in a grocery store, you shoplifting. Is that a bad thing to do? And you know it's probably bad? Yes. But you don't know the scale of how bad it is. You're not actually fully able to comprehend that might hinder you from getting a job at some sort of employer, that's on your record for, 20 years in the future. Believe it or not, people do not comprehend that, Dave. People are really, really stupid. Like for me, you guys questioned, hey, I'm surprised this guy hasn't been fired being a teacher for having a podcast. Oh, I've thought about that. 100% I've thought about that. Is there a consequence to what I'm doing? And I've even told you guys, hey, just let you know, starting February, we have to decide, is this something we continue doing here? Because I gave myself 5 years to make this profitable. Whereas if I did lose my job, then I could do this full time and still be okay in terms of making a living. But, the risk right now the benefits do not outweigh the risks right now. Like not even close. So, we have people like, we got people coming in that are starting to donate, like we have from Sean, $100 a month or, $200 already this week. Like those types of things change drastically. You know what I mean? If you think about it, is if I get up to a certain amount of money every single month by people contributing constantly, and I know what that number is, then yeah, we have a safety net of like, we can continue to do this because we're making enough to where, hey, I'm making what I'm making now. We're okay. So you got to get to the point where the risk is okay to take, because if I got fired, well, that's fine. Then I continue to do it. And then I'd make more money because I'm able to do this literally full time. So, anyways, that's where that's at. I've always been open about that. And my wife understands the risk as well. But the question is and she'll allow me to do whatever I want. But like I said, if I got fired for doing this show, that's crazy to me. Like really, I don't say anything bad. So I'm sure I've said something that's stupid and dumb, but who hasn't? You're going to fire somebody for that? Really? I don't know. I think that's silly. Folks, there's legitimately teachers that are doing drag and having drag men in thongs come on school campuses and thrusting their private parts in front of little kids' faces, and they don't get fired. Okay. If I ever got fired for saying the obvious, that criminals should not be hurting people, we should be getting them off the streets, and that I don't want to see homeless people defecating and masturbating in front of kids and tourists, if I got fired for saying obvious things like that, while there's people that are legitimately bringing on these individuals, these drag queens trying to indoctrinate your kids, and I'm not doing any of that, and I'm the one that gets fired, yeah, you're damn right I'm going to be a little bit outspoken about it, because that's crazy, dude. I don't do any of that. Gee, hey, save your money, invest it, don't buy it on stupid stuff. Hey, make sure you know statistics so you're able to actually understand things that are happening in your everyday life, because it's probably the most applicable mathematics that you're going to utilize in the real world, is because if you understand probability and the things actually taking place, well, then you're able to make decisions a lot better, because you're able to see proportions and percentages on what may or may not happen. And based on what may or may not happen, as long as you actually ran that study coherently and executed out appropriately, well, you can make a pretty good decision. And by the way, here's the ramifications if you don't do it. Well, then you're going to give that information to a business or said individual, and then now because you gave them faulty information, guess what happens to them? Well, now they've made a bad decision. And if you do that on behalf of a business, guess what happens to that business? Well, that business might suffer, and because they suffer, you suffer, because you just lost your job. And by the way, when they call your previous employer because you made said bad decision because you didn't want to learn statistics in school and understand how it functioned and worked, well, now that person doesn't want to hire you either, because they called your previous employer that's put down as a recommendation going, hey, why'd you let this guy go? Well, we let this guy go because he cost us $100,000 because he made an irrational decision, and he's made a few irrational decisions because he didn't understand exactly what he's doing. There's many things that go into this. So yeah, I think I don't speak out of line in terms of what the hell I'm talking about and doing. So anyways, did I miss anything here, Keith? Did I miss you? Let me check this out really quick before we end. I feel like I'm just going on. I'm just talking at this point. Okay, we do have a donation here. Sean did do a monthly. Geez. Okay, so Sean did go through with the 100. The man just didn't say it, but he actually did it. I got the email. I appreciate that. Thank you for the $100 a month, man. I believe there's only one other person that does that, and they choose not to be named. Let's see what else we have here. Is there anybody else? There says there's two. And Sean, hold on. And then we got David. Thank you, David, for the $5. Appreciate you. With the monthly. So David's doing monthly general fund recurring donation. Thank you so much. I appreciate that over there. So again, we get 97% of the money that comes through the website, which is great. Because like I said, YouTube takes 30% of the cut. Now I want to mention something, you guys. A lot of you are members over at YouTube. And now there's people still here. These are you, the hardcore people that are still around like 2 hours into the podcast. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. You guys do amazing, man. The community is what this is about. Me talking and rambling is just me venting and just you guys being my freaking therapists. Again, Rumble, I just want to make this announcement again because some of you weren't here when the show started because you weren't on time. Allegedly, Rumble is doing a thing now to where if you become a member over at Rumble for my channel, you will be able to join us on the Rumble Premium when it's restricted. Now, you don't get Rumble Premium for everybody's channel on Rumble if you do that, but only for mine. And I think that's a pretty good medium, if that's the word, between the two. And let me show you kind of where I'm getting that from. So there's a guy named Rick, and he's the project management for Rumble Video. And he mentioned this right here. This change was made. Monthly subs can now access premium content and get ad-free just for that creator. So not only would you be able to join Rumble Premium when we do it and it's restricted, which by the way, it's a more inclusive audience because it's just on Rumble and there's about 20 of us in there, which is awesome because we actually hang out, meaning I get to actually talk with you guys one-on-one a little bit more, but you also get ad-free content for us as well, just for us. So that might be an incentive to say double middle finger to YouTube, I'm going over to Rumble. Now, why is this also a big deal? Is because you guys starting either this month or I think it's next week are going to have to show an ID on YouTube. You're either going to have to take a photo of yourself to watch the content or you're going to have to issue an ID is from what YouTube is saying. It's nice to know that we're over at Rumble because Rumble might be the new YouTube because people are not going to put up with YouTube's crap of having to issue an ID. And from what my understanding is, and maybe I need to confirm this with Dylan, is that Rumble is not going to do that. So I would say at the very least, if you're not over at Rumble, my link's in the description for my Rumble page. You guys create a Rumble account. You don't have to pay for it. I'm not saying you have to become a member over at Rumble, but at least create an account. That way it's all set up, ready to go for next week when they implement this crap next week. So does Rumble Premium cover all creators? Okay. If you purchase the $99 Rumble Premium, yes. The Rumble Premium covers all, and that's the $99 option. That option covers all creators regardless. It covers the whole platform. You won't get ads. You won't get anything. But if you become a member, right? If you become a member for me on Rumble, just to my channel, right? That's like, I think it's $4.99. I don't make that number up, by the way. That's just Rumble creates that generic number. No, wow, I just sound like a kid number. Then you only get Rumble Premium and ad-free content for when you're watching me, the Bald Brad Show. So if you switched over to, say, Sean's show, who we watch every now and then you would still get ads and you wouldn't be able to join his Rumble Premium content. But if you join the big Rumble Premium, the $99 one, which we do a $10 off discount code using code STUDIO, then you would get that for everything on Rumble. And by the way, I have Rumble Premium, which is kind of nice because you get to watch other creators. Like I watch, for example, Timcast does a Rumble Premium section. And what I will say, the reason why I think it's worth it is because these guys, so right now we're hosting on all platforms, right? Like I'm hosting on X, Kick, Rumble, YouTube. And let's just say I literally have to click one button on Rumble because that's my main platform. It will shut off everything other than Rumble and take me to Rumble Premium. And because it's restricted, a lot of these guys will start saying stuff they would never say on like YouTube. Like you'll start hearing cussing. They'll go into content that they know they would be censored for. It's actually a really cool thing. Now, should that be a thing at all? No. You should be able to say whatever you want on all social media. But that's what I will say. It's a lot nicer. So if you join our Dark MAGA podcast, we tend to cuss more. You're going to see it's a little bit more rated R. But lately, it's just been the same crew every week. And by the way, I ain't complaining. I love the crew that we have. But it's a lot more... and people will tell you in the chat, a lot of the people in the chat are there with us on Rumble, the Rumble Premium content, which we're going to have today at 4 p.m. they'll tell you it's a little bit more inclusive. We do a little bit more of this, talking back and forth, asking questions. Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, did you hear what happened just now? And we'll pull it up live and we'll go through it. So I like Rumble Premium content because I think it gives an opportunity between the creator and the viewer to engage a little bit more. And I shared this on Tuesday with those that were in Dark MAGA podcast is I am a big Ben Shapiro fan. And so Ben Shapiro was like what Rumble Premium is early on, where he didn't have a huge audience. And so there was only like 10, 15 of us in his live chat. And so we would get our answers or our questions answered every single week because there wasn't that many people. And so if you watch the old Ben Shapiro videos, you will see the name Brad come up a lot because I was in the chat constantly before the guy was ever even really famous. And I love that aspect of the same thing here. I'm not saying I'm ever going to be famous, but I think it's great to be able to connect with your content creator, if that's what you want to call me or whatever. I just look at you guys as friends on another level. And I think that's important. And that's what it's about, by the way. It's about the community. If you guys don't think it's about the community, you got another thing coming to you because the way things with AI are rolling out, you're going to have content creators that aren't even real. And the only thing that's going to be left is that human interaction. And that human interaction is between all of us. And so I think it's always big to have a community that we have built here because you can't build that with AI. I suppose you can, but it's artificial. It's not real. If I buy Rumble Premium, do I still need to join yours for more, or does Rumble Premium cover your membership? What your membership does? Rumble Premium covers everything. So you would get it's like a streaming service, right? You would just get it for the entire platform. I would say join the $9.99 route or the $99 option. That way you just get everybody. It's just one blanket thing. It's a one payment for the entire year. Use promo code STUDIO, all caps, and you should get $10 off your order, 10% or something like that, whatever deal they have going on, and you should be good. There's so much more stuff on Rumble that YouTube does not have because they're so woke. Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting. I am really fascinated. Let me just confirm the date here with you guys really quick. When is YouTube making me submit my ID? Yeah, I want to see when this goes into effect. I think it's August 13th is when it's happening. That on YouTube, you're going to have to do it. So here we have it. YouTube's age estimation system, which may require ID verification, began rolling out in the United States August 13th, starting with a small set of users. It uses AI to estimate. So it looks like they're going to slowly roll it out. So you could very well potentially be flagged for something, even my content. So we'll see. So like I said, if that happens and we're live, like, hey, it just brings up some random pop out or pop up, just know that we have Rumble going as well. And if you don't even have that, X is not a bad option. We hit almost 8,000 viewers on X just yesterday. So that was pretty bonkers. But look, yeah, see, look at Karen says, yep, Rumble Premium is worth the money. There you go. From what I understand, it's based on your searches. Yes. But remember, you're talking about Google as well. So Google says it's just based on your searches, but that search expands everything. So, and by the way, they have, however long you've been on YouTube and you've been logged into your account, they're taking that data, decades of data, and are going to be able to pretty much tell you what you can and can't do. You guys want to know how, I'll share this with you. This goes beyond even what Google's capable of. There's a famous story. I share this within a finance class because it's true, because a lot of these kids are being targeted, hence why there should be a cell phone ban. These media marketing companies, they know things before you even know. So there's this famous story. Listen, this is crazy. I've shared it before. There's this story of a family, this guy, and he has I think it was like a 16, 17, 18-year-old daughter or something like that. And he noticed that he started getting pregnancy stuff in the mail for his daughter. And so he finally questioned her on it. He goes, hey, what is all this? Are you pregnant? Like, why are you getting all this pregnancy stuff in the mail all of a sudden from all these marketing places? She goes, I'm not pregnant. Like, what are you talking? She goes, I'm not pregnant. She didn't look pregnant or nothing. She's like, I'm not pregnant. Well, it turns out she ends up actually being pregnant. And so what happened was these marketing companies, based on her search history and what she was looking at, were able to identify that based on her patterns was very reminiscent of somebody that was in the early stages of pregnancy. And they sold that information to the marketing companies, and the marketing companies were sending her stuff before she even knew herself that she was pregnant. It's a very famous story. It happened a few years ago. By the way, imagine what these social media companies like YouTube, X, and you've been on Google, you've been using your search engine for a while, and you think you're all incognito. Oh, they're not going to know who I am, blah, blah, blah. Get the fuck out of here, you guys. Give me a break. Come on. They have all your information. All your information's on the dark web. There's been even these analysts that have come out and said your information, your whole identity, they actually know how much it's worth on the dark web. Your whole identity is worth $2, is what they said. So, yeah, this whole idea of like, oh, they're gonna have my driver's license, they're gonna have my address. It's like, you idiot, you put in your credit card information that has your address on there. You fucking use Amazon Prime all the time to have your shit delivered. Some of you guys use Grubhub or DoorDash. Hello? Like, what are you talking? Your ID is going to be something different because it has what's on your ID that's going to reveal. By the way, if you don't want to do it, I'm not saying you have to. All I'm saying is if you think that you're all incognito and shit on the internet, when you have your IP address, anybody can find where you're at. Like, come on, let's not be stupid here. It's always fine. Oh, well, my privacy. Bro, you're on the internet and you've been on the internet for 20 fucking years. They know who you are. There's a reason why, you guys, I can go look up something right now. I can pull up a Daily Wire ad and it's probably going to show me something sooner or later that I've looked up in the past. For example, you guys keep seeing a lot of camera lenses on the Daily Wire thing, or you should at least. The reason why is because I need a new camera lens. If you notice, this thing is fucking just showing my head. But if I use a different one that I had, which doesn't work in the lighting that I have because I'm in a closet, I should be more zoomed out. So it's tough for me to be in this box, but you should see at least my waist. There should be a lot more here. So I'm looking at a new camera, but the problem is they're freaking expensive. I'm not asking for money. Don't you freaking do it. I'm just saying that I'm looking. Okay. I'm looking to do not donate anything, please. I know how you guys are and I love you for that. You guys are super generous. That's why I have to say it. Don't do it. I'm telling you this time. There's no subtleness. There's no reading between the lines. I'm telling you not to, because I know how you guys are. You're freaking great, but don't. Brad, I'm in the closet again. You can't get me, Krager. All right, I said I was going to end like 50 minutes ago, and I'm freaking still here. This is what I love, man. I love hanging out with you guys, dude. I really like this is what I love. You guys are great. I know I am looking at new headphones. I'm looking at the Logitech ones that actually have the mic that disconnects. I do have an option there, Danielle. I know you guys donated. I have not forgotten. Danielle, I even know how much you donated. I got it. I run this ship. I run a tight ship, baby. I know what happens around here. But yeah, I got one. The question is, do I want to go pick it up at Micro Center, or do I want to and drive all the way, or do I want to just order offline? I'm trying to debate which one I want to do. Because if I'm one of those that like, and I've shared this before, if I'm going to spend money, I'm going to spend money. So like, there's certain things that I will spend a lot of money on because I know they're going to last me for a long time. Like my laptop. My laptop is a decade old, my Apple laptop. So obviously I'm in need of a new one, but the thing still runs barely. And as long as it runs barely and it still works, then that's great. In the same way, I don't need a nice lavish car. As long as it runs and it gets me from point A to point B, I don't give a shit what it looks like. I mean, almost everybody in the parking lot drives a nicer car to me, including students, and I'm not complaining. It works for me. I ain't looking to impress anybody. But I will splurge on something if I know it's going to last for a while. It lasts me 10 years. These headphones have lasted me 5 years, which is great. I use them every day. If you can use something every single day and it gets a lot of wear and tear, hey, you got good use. And by the way, I got 5 years out of them. I'm not complaining. They still work, truthfully. I got to continue to do the dial so I can hear correctly. Woo, bringing up airwaves or radio waves. HR department know when you are searching for a job due to the internet. Yeah. Well, especially if you're on the, well, you shouldn't be looking for a job on a work laptop. That's for sure. Yeah. But yeah, if you're on like their Wi-Fi or whatever, they have all that stuff, man. They can see what you're doing. Some of them have key logs on your laptop as well. So all that stuff's being tracked. I've been trolling people since 1995. Love that about you, Dave. Dave, you're an interesting guy, and I love that. My laptop is 10 years old, and it works great. There you go. By the way, if you're getting 10 years out of a laptop, that's awesome. Same here. Last car I bought was a $2,000 Honda Fit running great for the last 2 years. I mean, look at it. Isn't it a great investment that Krager's making? By the way, $2,000 for a Honda Fit. The thing's still getting him around. I mean, the insurance is probably relatively low on it, I'd imagine. The gas mileage is probably pretty decent on it. And who the hell are we trying to impress here? I don't know if Krager's married, but who the fuck are we trying to impress here? Look, you guys, I always say, look, I'm a guy. I love women. They look great, but you're allowed to look. You just can't touch. So you saying like somebody's hot, that's a compliment. You're hot. Doesn't mean I'm going to hook up with you. What the fuck? You know what I mean? You guys see me do that all the time. Like, oh yeah, she's a total rocket. She's a babe. Because there's a lot of guys that are single on here, and that's how we talk. Look, they're great. Well, I'm screwed with my employer's Wi-Fi every day. Yeah. Well, I'm screwed. My employer's Wi-Fi has the ball Brad show. You're fine. They love me. They probably watch me too. They need the truth. HR knows I look for job listings. Jeez, you guys. God. You need to be careful. I don't know why I'm telling you need to be careful. I need to be careful, clearly, because there's, all it takes is just one parent, one lefty to freak out what I say. It's like, calm down, dude. I'm not there to indoctrinate your kid. I still have my 94 Nissan pickup. Hell yeah, dude. Love that. All righty. Well, I've been saying I'm going to leave for 50 minutes and I'm still here. 2006 Toyota Highlander hybrid. I'm hoping I never need to buy another car. I said this, I think I said this to my wife, or I said this to somebody last week. I said, I've never had a new car in my entire life. I've only ever had 2 cars, and one was a hand-me-down from my parents, and I'm not complaining. I actually drove that for 20 years. Yeah, 20 or 21 years I had that car, and the only reason I had to stop driving it was the engine just blew. It was done. And I loved it. It was a 2003 Honda CR-V. Loved that car. And we used that car for hockey and all that other stuff. So it had a lot of miles on it, 200,000 or something, a little bit more. Did great. And I just can't, it wasn't reliable to get to work. It blew, the engine blew twice on my way to work when I was actually working up at Burbank. I used to drive 35 miles to work every day up in LA. Can you imagine that? I used to wake up like I am for the show to get up to work. And then it would sometimes take me 2-3 hours to get back home. And by the way, my AC blew on that car, and I wore a suit to work. So I'm like hanging out the window on the 710, freaking smelling that dirty air, that homeless air. I always share that story. I look like Ace Ventura when he catches the bullet. That's a hand to God true story. I used to hang out the window because it's stop and go traffic. You're not moving at all. And you're just getting the pavement radiating heat up at you. And you don't want to close your window because it just makes matters worse. So you're hanging out there because in August, basically August, September, October are like the hottest months that you're going to get in Southern California. It's like 100 degrees. And it's, like I said, it's more than 100 when you're getting the asphalt or the concrete pavement on you with a lot of the motors running and the cars and all that other stuff. But yeah, I have that. And so now I just drive my wife's clunker. That's been in like an auto accident before, but it gets me around, man. It works. Matter of fact, that was the car that I got this fucking thing on. The battery died on it. So trying to get that going. I drove 60 miles to get to work. I couldn't live in the city anymore. 60 miles, that's rough, dude. 60 miles is far. Now, it's not that bad. Like if you're living in, look, it's bad because I think the average distance that I found, I teach this in statistics because I like to do I do a lesson on what's called resistance. Hopefully I'm not boring you guys with this. There's this idea called resistance within statistics. And obviously resistance is when there's no impact upon something. So when you have water resistant shoes, well, it's resistant to water. Water does not affect your feet. Well, the average of data is not resistant. It is affected by outliers, extreme values. And the median is resistant. It's not affected by extreme values. And so I actually have a problem that I always teach in stats is you have 7 employees and then you hire an employee that's driving, say, 200 minutes to work when on average, everybody else is only driving 24 minutes to work. And I share with them, this is actually a big deal and it's applicable to the real world. I always try to use problems that they're going to see in their life. And I ask them, why do you think this is applicable problem? Like before I even tell them, why do you think this problem is important that I'm showing you what happens when you hire an employee that's driving 200 minutes to work every day? Now, to be honest, I've been teaching this for years. They never have the answer. And it's fair that they don't, but it's always nice to see maybe one sooner or later somebody will get one. Well, the reason why is on average, at least from what I looked up, on average, an employee is only willing to drive 30 minutes to get to the work. So across the United States, they're only willing to get to work and drive about 30 minutes. So that's why when Dave said, well, 60 miles, if there's no traffic and you're doing 65 miles an hour, it's going to take you a little under an hour to get to work. Now, that's still an outlier, but it's a lot better when you're not sitting in traffic. Whereas for me, driving 30 miles north to LA, well, when you're in stop and go traffic, that's 2 hours of driving at least. That sucks, man, when you're not moving and you're just sitting there at work. Now, maybe you are sitting in traffic for all I know. But anyways, so yeah, the reason why that's important is because if you're hiring somebody that's driving 200 minutes to get to work, well, one, why are they not able to find work closer? Maybe there is a reason for it. But two, as an employer, you have to be careful because odds are you're going to be finding another employee to replace that one within the next year or two, because on average, they're going to get tired of it. They'll be able to last for a while because they need the job to pay the bills, but you'd be remiss if they're not looking for something closer. So that's why that's also important to be looking at the drive times of where your employees live, is because if they're coming from a far commute, sooner or later, you might lose a really good employee. And if you're an employer, a lot of times you invest in your employees for trainings and certifications and all those other things. Well, it's kind of messed up if you're investing so much money into this employer, or into this employee rather, and you put all that money into them. Well, then now some other company, maybe a competitor, is getting the benefit of all that investment that you put inside that employee. Right, unless they move towards the workplace. Yeah, that too. And sometimes, maybe that's the incentive that an employer offers, right? That conversation is usually going, hey, you know what? I got an offer, because usually you counter offer, right? Hey, I got this place that's a lot closer to me. That's offering me $10,000 more. I'm going to be saving $15,000 a year on gasoline alone. If you take in all that other stuff, right? This is all part of the negotiations that you should be doing. Hey, I got to do oil changes, this so many miles. So I've tallied up by just me moving to this employer. Yeah, they're offering me $10,000 more, but I'm going to be saving another $10,000. So basically I'm making it $20,000 by going to this employer. They might say, hey, you know what? If you got an apartment, we'll go ahead and we'll subsidize you on that $10,000. We'll pay for your moving expenses to that new employer. We'll actually get you a moving truck, and then we'll go ahead and grant you that $10,000 raise that you're looking for. At that point, what do? Maybe you like that workplace. Maybe you don't want to leave, and you're like, look, I'm willing to lose this place of employment for a better life and a better standard of living. And sometimes they'll say, hey, we really love you working here. We don't want to lose you. You're a great asset to this company. We invested a lot of money into you. We'll pay for those expenses. $10,000 truck, that's fine right there. You'll be saving $10,000 by moving closer to us. And we'll give you that $10,000 raise. Bada bing, bada boom. There you go. You got it. Right there. And by the way, the moving expense might not even be $10,000. So you might just be getting off on that, Anywho, all right. We're really going to go now. It's 8 o'clock. Appreciate you guys. Drive safe, Pat. You guys have a blessed day. Thank you for always joining the Ball Brad Show. You guys know we love hanging out with one another. Thank you for listening to me ramble this entire time, and appreciate you. Country living is worth the drive. Yeah, I've been through it. Middle America is pretty great. I have a mile from the Snake. Great bike ride and then fish. Look at that. Living the life over there. Some of you guys live in pretty great states. A lot of people are talking about Idaho. Idaho's a pretty beautiful area. So is Oregon, to be fair, but Oregon's too left for me. All righty, we're out of here. I'm really going to mean it this time. I'm out. Have a blessed day. I will see you at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today for another Dark MAGA podcast. It's on Rumble Premium only, so you're not going to be able to watch it on all platforms. You have to be a Rumble Premium member or a member for my channel over on Rumble itself. Hopefully they were right. Now, if we want to test it out, if somebody is just a member over on Rumble for me, maybe you could test it out. So maybe you're a member, but you're not a Rumble Premium member. Maybe we could test it out and see if you're able to come in. I think Dizzy might be a member over at Rumble. I think maybe he could test it out for us. I don't know. But with that being said, you guys have a blessed day. Thanks for hanging out with me. Appreciate you.